Hey everyone, greetings from Chile, where we bring to you Postales Vivos number 5.
Yeah, we got here to Chile at the very beginning of December. We're getting into mid-February here, so we're a little behind on producing these videos. But we're going to cover the first 6 weeks of our time in Chile here today. Clearly, the best and biggest high of our time here in Santiago is that we're able to have family down. We had our son Silas and our daughter Tessa and Silas's fiance Hatley and Lori's mom Helen. It was also really cool that Lori's cousin Jeremy happened to be in Santiago. Jeremy's a professor at the University of Colorado, Denver, and does exchange work down here. And so we were able to catch up with Jeremy in Santiago.
And similarly, we were lucky enough to have some of our Portland and New England-based community come and spend some time with us here.
We also had the good fortune of being able to connect with our exchange student from about 10 years ago, whose name is Barbie, who's from Santiago, meet her family.
Likewise, we got to spend some time with Beth Stickney and Ken Coonan, who are friends, neighbors, and colleagues of ours from Portland and now live in Santiago. One of our highlights was being in Chile during the Chilean elections. A couple of cool things to note about the elections are that, one, voting in Chile is mandatory. Two, it's kind of like jury duty is in the United States, where if they don't have enough people to work the election booths, you can get recruited on the spot when you go in to vote and be responsible for tabulating votes. And the other thing that's super interesting and makes the election process very transparent is that everything is done on a very small scale with papers, no electronics, no computers, just human beings counting votes, using each other as a checks and balance system. So regardless of the election results, which people obviously feel very differently about, the process was one that the people of Chile trust and was interesting to watch.
Some of our highlights in Santiago included our visit to the Museum of Memory and Human Rights, which is a museum that covers the 17-year Pinochet regime, which was, as you know, an authoritarian fascist regime that committed a lot of human rights atrocities. It was a really good reminder of how important it is to hold on to democracy with both hands, particularly in these times.
On a lighter note, we were also able to visit a number of vineyards with our friends and family, as well as take a fun cooking class with Silas, Hatley, Tess, and my mom. And we were able to visit one of the international Baha'i temples and continue learning some more about the Baha'i religion.
Another big highlight of being in Santiago was being able to access the hills, the mountains around the city. We took a really big hike up Cerro Pintor with Barbie and Tessa, Aguas de Ramon with our friends Jess and Jen, and we were able to hike and take telefericos up through the Metropolitan Park. We also had an opportunity to host a book group with our friends visiting from the United States, and the book of the month was The Japanese Lover by Isabel Allende.
We also spent some time in Valparaiso, which is a UNESCO World Heritage City and is just this delightful, vibrant, crazy quilt of a city that is kind of like an open-air art gallery, tons of street art, poetry, graffiti, all over the place for folks to explore.
Our daughter Tessa was off on break from college, and so she had a little more time than Silas and everybody else did to visit. And so we were able to take a side trip with Tessa out to Easter Island, or what is more appropriately called Rapa Nui.
And that was definitely one of my favorite places. Particularly because it was so remote and because it's such a complex place and has so many mysteries. There are so many contradictions and commonalities to the truths that the different people on the island speak about it, both the people who grew up on the island and those that have come to make their home on the island as academics or otherwise.
It was amazing being on Rapa Nui, which is an island that's only about 15 miles long and 7 miles wide. It's this tiny little place, but yet it's over 2,300 miles away from the coast of South America and the nearest other inhabited areas. So it just was really wild to be out there.
The remoteness of Rapa Nui is one of the things that drew us to the island initially, as were the moi, which are those giant, several ton statues that you see scattered across Rapa Nui. And we were interested, again, in the theories about the moi, how they were constructed, when they were constructed, who they were constructed for, how they got where they were. But as we spent time there on the island, we found ourselves intrigued with so much of the island, how it was dealing with its limited resources in such a remote location, how it was managing tourism, and what the island wanted for itself and its resources moving forward.
Highlights for us at Rapa Nui included sharing the island and the summer solstice with our daughter Tess, sunrise at the Ahutangariki site, sunset at the Ranukau site, and a guided bike ride with a Rapa Nuian woman who's committed to making tourism on Rapa Nui more sustainable.
Another highlight of our first 6 weeks in Chile and time with Tessa was visiting the Atacama Desert. That desert is one of the highest and driest deserts in the world. Many parts of it get less than 0.6 inches of rainfall a year, and some areas of the desert are said to have never even recorded any rainfall.
Because the Atacama is so high and dry and arid and gets so little light pollution, about 1/2 of all the world's active scientific telescopes are located there. While we were there, we took an astronomy tour where we were able to view planets, stars, and nebula. We used large format telescopes to see the rings of Saturn, the seas of Jupiter, and the details of constellations like never before.
San Pedro de Atacama, which is the small town where we were home base during our time in the desert, also has a really cool meteorite museum with one of the largest collections of meteorites in the world, many of which were unearthed right in the Atacama Desert, and some of which date back to over 4.5 billion years. Tess and I got to touch a few of them.
Also found in the Atacama Desert are archaeological sites and areas with really unique geology. We hiked and mountain biked through otherworldly scenes like the 12th century pre-Incan archaeological site of Pucura de Quitor, Valle de la Luna, Valle del Sol, y la Garganta del Diablo.
One morning we got up at 3 a.m. so that we could sunrise at El Tatio Geysers, which at over 14,000 feet above sea level is one of the highest geyser fields on the planet. In truth, although we enjoyed the dramatic effect created by the hot volcanic geysers erupting into the freezing dawn air, it was so cold on the fields that we didn't last long. However, the upside of that all was that as we drove back towards San Pedro, and while daylight was still breaking, we got to see vicuñas, surrey, and vizcacha in the wild.
Many visitors, including us, are also drawn to the desert's lagoons and salt flats, where various types of flamingos and other birds can be found. We also enjoyed finding oases to swim in, including Lagunas Escondidas, a super buoyant lagoon where we laughed at how our bodies felt like styrofoam as we floated around in the salty turquoise waters.
On our last day in Atacama, we also had an opportunity to hike Cerro Toco. For Ethan and me, that was the highest elevation hike that we ever took, even if it was a short one. But for Tess, I think it was just old news because she's hiked much higher a couple of times before. Overall, like so many of the other places we visited, we left Atacama feeling overwhelmed by its beauty, its grit, and its fragility.
So after our time at Atacama, Tess headed back to Colorado, and Lori and I returned to Santiago, where we started to retool. We had to kind of get ready because the next phase of our trip is going to be by bicycle. And so we were getting all of our equipment prepared to start a bikepacking trip down into Patagonia.
So where has that trip taken us? We've been on the road now bikepacking for about 2 weeks. You'll have to tune in to find out, but I can give you a little bit of a forecast that we don't take trips. Trips take us, as Steinbeck says, and these past 2 weeks have led us to so many unexpected and wonderful places.
Yeah, so look forward to that in Postales number 6, where we'll be covering that bike tour. And meanwhile, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, And we hope you'll stay tuned with us. Thanks for watching to the end here, everybody. We miss you all. Thanks for being in touch. And we'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode.
Love you.